Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Salam Media. I'm your host for this evening, Dhakir Dawood. It is now 29 minutes past 7, and we're going to get straight into the rugby side of things. We do know that there is URC that's underway, there's European Challenge Cup rugby that's currently taking place this evening. But now we're going to bring it back home. We're going to be chatting about some of our legends of the game that made it possible for us to enjoy sport the way we do today, obviously, with everything going on in the South African space of sport. A book a book documenting the life of the great Cassiem Jabaar, the legendary Western Province and Saru scrumhalf from the 1970s, was recently launched at the District 6 Museum. We're going to chat a bit to Achmat Essau. He's going to give us some insight on the book and the historical significance, where he put the artwork of the book together, and his wife Suraya put together the written pieces of the book. I'm joined by the couple this evening on the show as we unpack everything that you can find in this book, and make sure that you go out there and get your book at one of the stores, or you can get it online as well. Assalamu alaikum, and thank you for joining me on Salam Media this evening.
Wa alaikum assalam, and as the Maoris say, kia ora.
Well,
Walaikum salam.
I see the book is in hand there, and the artwork's looking rather flashy. Ahmad, there's been years of history of rugby and many stories that could be told. But what makes this one so special for you and your wife that you wanted to tell the story?
I'm fortunate to my wife being the youngest sibling of the Jabar clan, and she is the youngest of 12. And of course, she also has more siblings from another wife, which her father had, which was 8, so there's 20. So she's the youngest of the 20, and we are both teachers living in Aotearoa, New Zealand. And this is her second book that she's written. She's written a children's book on Sheikh Yusuf of Makassar, which is our ancestry. So yeah, I'll just soos hulle sê met my agterplaas in die Pottergeval. And so I'm married to the younger sister of the great Cassiem Jabaar, known as Kat, and Soraya will explain why he's known as Kat. And of course, being a rugby person like yourself, with the history of playing under the banner of Saru and affiliated to SECOS, which is a part of our South African rugby history. Yeah, I feel it's a privilege to have been part of such a project. And like you said, we will enlighten you further what inspired it. And I have the author here with me. And yeah, that's about it from my side for the introduction.
So we have putting this book together. Tell me all about it.
Okay, so it started 5 years ago. Assalamu alaikum to your audience. I'm Suraya, Kasim's youngest sister. When I was little, there were quite a few things that happened in my life that made me wonder why my brother is so popular among the community. And growing up in District 6, you could move from house to house and, just visit as such. And when you enter the homes, they would say, "Oh, are you Kat's sister?" Or Cassiem Jabaar. Then I would say yes. And of course, special treatment was given when you were Kat's sister. And I always wondered why. And growing up, I always thought, is this man famous or not? Why are people making such a big deal out of him? And then he showed us some articles and his books that he's been collecting over the years, like what do we call it?
Clippings.
Yeah, some clippings and stuff like that he collected. And we started reading these articles and found out that there's quite a life story about Kat. And when we got to New Zealand and we looked through them and decided, okay, we're going to write this book. We need to write his story. It's important. And so we started 5 years ago. We moved around South Africa with Cassiem Jabaar interviewing people, and started in Kimberley. So Kimberley was significant because to start there because my grandfather and great grandfather started their rugby career in Kimberley. So in the book, you will have also a family tree of the Jabaar family tree, which will be quite exciting to see because Jabaar is actually somehow just a surname, but not an original surname. But I won't reveal too much about the book as such. So yeah, traveling through, we collected voices and then took it back to New Zealand and started writing and accumulating articles and stuff. Are we still online?
Yeah, we're on.
Hello?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are. We're
Oh,
online.
it's just the computer made a little circle thing and I thought we were off. Yeah, so it took us 5 years.
I think we just had a
Anything else
slight
you want?
break in. I think we had a slight break in connection there. So in that 5 years,
It's frozen.
starting off in Kimberley, where many
Yeah.
people have ancestry, if we call it that, because I only found out recently that some of my Abbas genes actually started out in Kimberley, and now I find myself
Oh,
in
you got
Johannesburg. So it's
Yeah.
interesting
so
listening to
one of
those
the
stories. What's that, Ahmad?
one one of the contributors is Sharif Abbas from Spice Maker. So part of the book is, like Soraya says, not revealing too much, given the
Mm,
family history of the Jabars or the Houtapples, as they are known. And then we also ask the question in the book, one section, Cassiem Jabaar, myth or legend, and we have quite a few of his teammates and people he played against, like Sharif Abbas, who is the son of the great Dullah Abbas, who is a stalwart and an icon in Kimberley and in Saru. So yeah, so they answered that question for us, and we don't want to reveal too much. Buy a book, but myth or legend, and then Cassiem, Sharif Abbas, Napoleon, whom we lost
mhm.
through in the pandemic, and may Allah grant him paradise, and then also Ahadin, and then there's Hamlet Ibrahim Karelse, there's Hadi Dolly, there's Touch Davids, and all of these guys, they speak about is he a myth or is he a legend? And yeah, the book will reveal what they say.
Well, we're definitely looking forward to it, and I can't wait to get stuck in myself. And I mean, just looking at the book, and just to give the younger generation some context, myth or legend, like you said, if you had to compare him, Ahmad, to one of the modern day rugby players, who would be?
Yeah, the modern day. Well, just a little before I do that, because the cut was also a great kicker. Of course, you know that he drop kick from the base of the scrum, and he did that in lots of the games, and that is still, and that's both feet. Hey, so that's still very one of the things out there that hasn't been really equal. But before we came, we tried to contact Sid Going, who saw Buta play in 1976 and gave him a tie, and Sid Going regarded him as one of the best he's seen in 1976. So, but Sid Going, unfortunately, he's very ill in New Zealand, so we wanted him to contribute to the book,
Mhm.
but he's very ill, and they did make contact with us. But a modern day one, I don't know. They don't kick from the base of the scrum anymore. So the cut could kick, he could pass, he could run, he could do anything. He could, growl at his forwards. So yeah, maybe there's not a modern day one, but as the book also indicates, the great Gareth Edwards, we ended off with the clip where he actually visited Cassiem, and that's in the book as well. So yeah, maybe I would probably put him in par with Gareth Edwards. Yeah,
One of the world's greats. One of the world's greats.
those
But
guys.
saying
Yeah,
that, and it's crazy how my story comes together, because after watching that interview, it actually made me realize, where have I been living all my life, and why have we not been telling the story of our South African legends?
yeah,
Because it's stories like this that you don't find every day,
yeah,
on YouTube, anywhere.
yeah,
And that's what inspired me to start telling stories of our South African athletes pre-unity. And
yeah.
it's relatable role models, people that look like you and I, that we can actually look up to. So that was part of my story. But going back into the book, I mean, it's all about the book tonight. What is your favorite part of the book, Ahmad? And then we'll go through to you, Soraya. What is the part of the book that actually made you feel like this journey of putting the book together was worth it?
Yeah, for me, I think towards the end, because I'm a keen rugby person, and I might be outspoken against South African rugby, but in the end, you know that your family, your friends are going to be representing South Africa, so you have that connection with them. And although I live in New Zealand, so Kasim's plan for the future, because he reckons there's no equity still, that South Africa just kind of sadly just has a handful of players that they pick from, because the majority, the talent out there, and we saw last year, this year we'll see again the kind of talent that comes out of the communities. But we're losing that talent because we're not including them in the bigger setup. So that part of the book for me is really important. What Kasim thinks, what the future should look like for rugby, and how we tap into all the rugby reserves that we have, and get the most out of South African rugby. So, yeah, for me, that would be that part, as a person who is involved in rugby, and as a person like yourself, that we belong to a group that is trying to just to foster relations and get our talent to be showcased on, especially from a youth point of view. So, yeah, that part of the book, I think, for me is the one. What's the road forward? How do we tap into the rugby reservoir of South Africa? Because at the moment we just dancing around in a pool. You know.
Definitely. And from
And
your
you
side, Soraya, what was your favorite?
Well, the start. Reason being is that this is a biography, so it tells of all parts of Kasim's life, and because I'm his younger sister, I therefore found out more about my family. And I was 2 years old when my father passed away, and there's a 20-year gap between me and my brother Kasim, and therefore there's some stuff that I only recently discovered about our family. So for me, it was also revealing, it was unfolding a life in front of me. And I enjoyed it because I started to know more about myself as well. So that's the part that I like most, without saying too much about it.
Definitely, definitely. And for those of you that want to find out more, they can go ahead and purchase the book. Soraya, do you mind sharing the details on where they can purchase the book and how much it costs to get a piece of history like that in your hands?
Okay, I'll just tell you a little bit about why we are donating this to IFH. So the money is going to IFH. IFH is the Ihsan Family Homes. It's a foundation that has been started by my niece, Fairuz Jabar. And Fairuz is the daughter of my other brother who passed away due to cancer just before COVID.
also played Western Province. Yeah.
And COVID hit, and then there was a lot of struggles and suffering in more than normal in South Africa. And Fairuz took this initiative to start this homes. And since then, she's been feeding more and more people, and up to 1,000, 2,000, and sometimes up to 9,000 children a week. It's Maghrib. Sorry. Hopefully you can't hear that. I'm just going to turn it off quickly.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so the foundation is there feeding families each and every day, and they're actually starting next week. So all the online sales, and of course when the book started selling well, the money was also donated to the foundation. So yeah, all of the proceeds go into the foundation to feed children. So look, we are just humbled and privileged to we've put the book together, and the book's out there, and the book's doing good, not only in telling the world about Saru Sekos rugby, but it's feeding people as well. So
Mm.
whatever you buy online, and we'll get you the connection, the online connection. It's feeding people each and every day. So yeah, that's our humble contribution to our country.
I
And I
will
think it would
email.
be super. Oh, thank you. I was about to say it would be nice to put the link in the comment section on Facebook and on YouTube, just so that
Yep.
the listeners and the viewers that are tuning in at a later stage can then just have a straight direct link to click on.
Yep. I'll probably just email it to you, and you can do. I'm sure you know how to work your live shows. But if ever you don't get the link, all you have to do is Google this book and
Amazon.
go onto Amazon, and Amazon will have it. It will go straight there, and you can buy the book then online. We sold 60%. We printed 500 copies, and we sold 60% on the day. And since then, more have been sold by both Cassiem and Fairuz. So I don't know how many hard copies are left actually in Cape Town, but if you get hold of Cassiem, he might have a few. If you get hold of Fairuz, you might have a few. I can give you Fairuz's telephone number as well. Um, she's sitting with a few as well. Other than that, it will be on Amazon,
I
and
think
I'll
I know
send.
somebody. I think I know somebody who happened to write the book, so I think I could get a hard copy fairly soon up in Johannesburg. But I mean, we spoke about the book and the launch of the book specifically. Um, what is the significance of taking the launch to the District Six Museum?
Well, this is Soraya's second book. Like I said, we've the District Six Museum seemed to be the place where this book plays out in District Six because Kasim is a child of District Six. Soraya is a child of District Six, and they were forcibly removed. And I think it's probably the best place because if you look at the rugby teams that came through Saru, eventually originated at Saru, the ones that got lost even because they were mergers. I think there was one time when we were doing the research and they were in that little District 6 area, there were about 13, 14 teams. There was like a rugby team on every corner. And eventually when the Roslins, the ones that were there initially, and then they merged and you had your collegians and your silver trees still there, and then they were with force removals, they were taken out into the Cape Flats and that. So yes, District 6 Museum is the one place, and we want to thank the District 6 Museum because they've given the venue to us free of charge, and they've on a Sunday when the place is closed and that, and of course the historical significance, the connections are there, and of course there are so many people, ex-District 6 residents involved in rugby. When they came to the opening, it was the first time they've been to the District 6 Museum. So yeah, there were so many emotional and historical things happening that it brought a bit of a tear to the eye, and so this launch seems to have had a multi-prong effect, and we are extremely humbled and pleased with how it went. And I don't know where the third book is going to be launched, and there's a third one already. So, and I just know that that venue has worked for us twice, and it is a historical venue. It is a scar on our country's history, and it's something that is unresolved. But yeah, it was the ideal venue because it had so many connections. What do you think?
Yes, I think coming from District 6, I think it was the only place it could have happened. And so we thank Uncle Noah, who started the District 6 Museum. And he's always been very open and welcoming. And because he is a very good friend of my Buddha, Cassiem Jabaar, he immediately said yes when I said I'm writing his biography. So there was no doubt that it was going to be there. Yes, we don't know where the future books will be, but I think everyone needs to know that the District 6 Museum needs your support because there was a time when the District 6 was going to close, but then luckily they got some funding from overseas and reopened as such. So they're always in search of funding and support of the community. So if you haven't ever been to the District 6, I urge you to go. It's got a rich history of people who have been and who lived there and who've been forcibly removed from their homes.
And I think that, kid, for your information, they do have a sports exhibition or collection that we started years ago before I left for New Zealand, and Putanoa is trying to get them to put that exhibition up again, and it traces all the codes from District 6 and how it spread out into the Cape Flats. So that's something for you if you're ever looking for a story like it to dig into that, because it covers all the codes and they have wow, they got tons of information there. So yeah, that's about why District 6 Museum is important for this venture.
I have Fairuz's number if you want Fairuz's number, if anyone wants to contact Fairuz. It is 082 468 9874. 082 468 9874. That's Fairuz if you're interested in a copy of a book.
Thank you so much. I'll make sure that we do share that information with our followers and those watching the show on social media and listening live on air. But looking at that, and some of the guests in attendance at the launch, tell me about that, because there were rugby greats that came out in their
Yeah.
numbers that many haven't seen in years, and all of a sudden came
Yeah,
out for this
yeah.
occasion.
That
Before
was
before you talk about the rugby heroes that were there, I'm going to share the little one. There's a little story in there of Mervyn Africa. Mervyn Africa was the neighbor of my brother when they lived in St. Philip Street in the District 6, and they grew up together. Mervyn had to leave South Africa to prosper in his career as a musician.
James, eh?
He became a famous jazz musician in England, and when I contacted him from New Zealand to say that I'm writing Cassiem's book, he said he'll be there, and he came. He was there, and they haven't seen each other since childhood, and so that alone was an emotional part for the both of them. Yeah, so just telling you that, and Ahmad can tell you more of the
Yeah,
rugby
I think
heroes.
Sunny Kaha was like I think it was a Stars man and Stars and Kelly's rag back in the day, and a good friend of Cassiem Jabaar Puta. So he came from Canada for the launch, and of course we had Temba from the Eastern Cape. We had a lot of people from the Eastern Cape as well. Yeah, Hardy Dolly was there. All the Touch Davids was there, and the later guys like Britain was there, and Ridor Allen was there.
Ex-Saru
Yeah, all
coach,
all
South
and of
South
course
African.
the night before, Cassiem found us and said that Peter de Villiers was going to be there as well. He found and he wanted to come. Yeah, there were so many greats there, and like Cassiem says, sometimes we forget that it was effort, although we singled him out, but he always said that there were so many that played with him that was so great,
Mm.
and they were all there, and it was just wonderful seeing them, hug each other. They haven't seen each other for a while. I think there's a lack of forums for them to come together like that, and we had the pleasure of days before moving around with him as the build up to the launch came, and afterwards,
Mm.
a day after, we still took Timba, the great Timba Ludwaba, out for lunch, and Timba entertained us with, and maybe not entertained us with the sad stories of Dan Kwekwe Stadium and what's happening in the Eastern Cape. And we know that Sia Kolisi and Sticks, who is the coach, they came under the hands of Temba Luduaba. We don't know, people don't know these things, but that's where these guys came from. And of course, those same grassroots that Temba was involved in is gone. There's nothing happening at the moment, and Temba has got all these stories about that. So yeah, it was
He
just
too
great
was.
sitting there watching SRS, this jazz musician. The guys were a bit older, a little bit more, a little bit bent
Shabia.
over, a little bit chubbier. all of them there. And I mustn't forget a guy like an organization like the SACOS Legends. Naim
Mm.
David, Sadiq Krombi was the speaker, and ever Zakir, I'll try to post it on online as well. The speech by Sadiq Krombi, his address to the audience, one of the best that I've heard in a long time. It is not. It is a celebration of Buddha, of Kasim, but it's also a message of hope for the future. Because,
Mm.
like I said, with all the things that we are unhappy about South African rugby, we all have one aim, and that is to build it up again, because it is our rugby. It's part of us. So
Mm.
yeah, you mentioned those getting together. It was really a pleasure sitting there and just seeing all of these people come together. The problem was there wasn't enough time to just have a chat with all of them, but you know that's how life is. There's never enough time.
Well, talking about time, we are running short and running
There
to
you
the end
go.
of it. But it was amazing catching up and getting to know all about this book and what the book has to offer. And I'm definitely looking forward to getting my hands on it and starting to get a bit of distribution going around up in the Johannesburg area, because I am
Right.
certain that many people that would want to get their hands on this book. But Ahmad and Soraya, thanks for your time this evening. I look forward to chatting to you guys real soon. And cross fingers and toes we get to see each other before you guys leave back to New Zealand, inshallah. But thanks for your time this evening. Thanks for sharing your insight and sharing your knowledge on the book. We really, really appreciate it. And I hope that the listeners and viewers out there gain more insight and want to get their hands on the book as much as I do.
Hey, thank you for having us. It's a pleasure
Thank
to
you.
be here. We feel privileged and humbled. But yeah, thank you to you and your organization for having us here tonight.
And thank you, Dakir, for reaching out, because we didn't even know Salah Media existed. Being
Well, I
an
did.
Well, I didn't, because in New Zealand you only listen to locals. But now I can be staunch and support you as well in what you're doing. All right.
Shukran, no problem. We definitely look forward to chatting soon. That was Ahmad and Suraya Isa giving us a bit of their insight on the book of the life story of Cassiem Jabaar, the legendary Western Province and Saru scrumhalf in the 1970s. He recently launched his book at the District 6 Museum. They told us everything that we need to know about the book, and I hope that the listeners and viewers at home definitely get their hands on that book, because I'm going to. But, ladies and gentlemen, the first show of 2023, what an amazing one it was. We touched on African football, and we touched on a topic that's very close to the hearts of many in South Africa, rugby pre-unity. And I hope that this story inspired you to get your hands on a copy of that book. From myself and the team at Salam Media this evening, it's always a pleasure chatting all things sports to you. But until next week, we're going to do it again, same time, same place. And make sure you interact and engage in the comments section below. And let's see, maybe we can cover some of the topics that you want us to cover. But for now, Assalamu alaikum. And I look forward to chatting to everybody next week on Salam Media.